Love it or leave it.
Normally on Tuesdays, we record a monologue, a kind of comedic look at the previous few days' news. And I just thought maybe this would be a conversation about how we're feeling would be maybe more fruitful right now.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how comedic it's going to be, but I'm sure we'll find a laugh somewhere. Because, as you alluded to, because we are gay, white men, and podcast hosts, this will mostly be a self-indulgent therapy session about how we feel. But before we go fully solipsist there, I want to think a little bit about others. Can we start by thinking a little bit about others? Is that okay?
Sure. Let's do that. How do we deal with the bloodless kind of ticky-tack politics of Trump's aberrations without forgetting that they're aberrations? And obviously, we don't want to have a whole conversation about normalizing Trump again. Trump is obviously quite normal. Here he is. But my main fear right now is that in facing a million different versions, a million different threats from a million different directions, we will win some battles, lose some battles, but by the end of this 4 years, we won't really recognize the country. And that's sort of what I felt, and just thinking about that, these sort of we're already at the point where we're talking about whether there'll be blowback if Donald Trump uses the security state to kill people's clearances, causing them to lose jobs, thereby causing potential whistleblowers inside the government to be afraid to come forward. We're already at the politics of that, which we should be. I mean, it's a reasonable place to be. We are at the politics of that. But what we're talking about is the politics of quasi authoritarian governance. We're already there. So that was my big, am I worried about the targeting of immigrants and how far that goes? Yes. Am I worried about the targeting of LGBT people? Yes. Am I worried about what happens when inevitably protests start happening and Trump crosses the Rubicon of deploying troops and we start debating the approval rating of that decision? Yes, I'm very worried about all of these things, but in general, I'm worried about now what happens when Trump, fully in control of the Republican Party, fully in control of the executive branch, makes decisions and it is just processed as normal politics. That's what I was feeling today.
Yeah. So I like having you on. So I thought we're a good pair for this, because my brain goes in a completely different way from that into crisis communications mode. I go into crisis mode, right? Which is okay, we're here, right? And it's what is not acute, right? Maybe there's a distant threat to gay rights or whatever, as you mentioned, LGBTQ, but it's not acute, right? Maybe there's a distant threat to some of Trump's enemies or a future protest that he cracks down on, but it's not acute. And the real thing is there's a small handful of people who I worry about, who I think particularly kind of were involved in the impeachments and the prosecutions against him, that I think might be targeted initially, and I worry about them, and some of them I know personally, and then I worry about this. I want to play for you what the discussion between Sean Hannity last night and the new czar of deportations, or whatever the fuck they're calling him.
But for those others, the non-criminals, if you want to self-deport, I'm all for it. Because when they self-report, they can put their orders, put everything in order, their family business, if they got homes or whatever, they can put all that in order and leave with their family altogether. It makes perfect sense for the ones that are not criminals and not violent.
How are they going to get home? How do they get home?
Well, the ones who go home, the rest of them won't put on an airplane and send them home. And the ones that want to go home on their own, they found their way across the world to come to the greatest nation on earth. They can find their way home. Either that, or I'll give them a free airline ticket that we put them on our airplane and we'll take them home. It's either way. It's up to them. If we arrest them, they come on our airplane, Sean. If they want to go on their own airplane, I welcome it.
So to me, it's okay, that is what I can't not think about that. Right. I mean, you're at this very meta, which is, you're right. You're at this very meta, man, like we might be so debased by 2028 that we don't even have a society anymore. And like, that's true. That's something that is in my brain somewhere. But then on the flip side, I'm like, we've got Sean fucking Hannity being like, don't you think you should be a little bit more humane when the deportations start? And the deportations are being like, nah, actually, Sean, no, I don't think we should. I think everybody's got to go.
Yeah, no, I saw that clip, and obviously it's chilling for a number of reasons. First of all, we have Sean Hannity pitching immigration policy to this former acting ICE guy who basically just wants to use it as an opportunity to reassert the kind of aggressive anti-immigrant position that they want their message to be. And it's like this is the power center now, right? This is the marketplace of ideas. That's obviously terrifying. What if you listen to Homan in that clip, right? He kind of jumps. He postures in this hyper aggressive anti-immigrant way while also avoiding what Hannity is specifically asking him. And to me, like, this goes to the politics of this, which is they are signaling. So if you go back and listen to Trump in 2016, when he was talking about deportations, obviously Trump in both 2024 and 2016 talked about deportations in a messy, confusing, vague way meant to allow you to draw any policy conclusion about what he might want to do. But the difference, I think, between how he spoke in 2016 and how he spoke in 2024, 2016, he was mostly talking about securing the border and then deporting criminal, undocumented people. That was their stated
like
policy.
That they
goal.
committed crimes beyond
the crime of crossing the border illegally.
Right.
Yes. And by the way, they purposely allied that distinction as well, right? They refer to criminal undocumented people, but they consider every person who broke into the country as having broken into the country, which is a crime, of course. So they can make that vague as well. But what he's doing there is he's saying we're going to go after the worst of the worst, and that is going to be something. Look, most Americans, when asked about it, favor mass deportations. Not clear if they really mean that, right? They may be thinking more about just getting the border under control. The number of deportations under Biden versus Trump, right? Trump did some interior enforcement. Biden, his deportations are more focused at the border. So when people think of deportations, they may really be in their mind picturing just getting control of the border. Sure. But so what I worry about, right, is that Trump starts under this guy Homan doing a bunch of deportations, claiming it is the worst of the worst criminals. We start to see reporting that it is in this dragnet just sweeping up a bunch of other people who just came to this country for a better life. By the way, because we built an economy on their backs. There's so much. It's like I have this constant tension. And I don't know if you feel the same thing, as long as we're talking about feelings and indulging ourselves, which is things that I feel like should go without saying, but then like maybe they shouldn't. And one of the things that should maybe not go without saying is, because I hear this, right? You hear this from a lot of people who ostensibly take a somewhat moderate position in immigration, which is they support immigration, they believe there's immigration, but these people should go to the back of the line, or these people broke the law. And it really is just the laws targeting the most vulnerable people. We built an economy on undocumented labor. Okay, it is ostensibly against our laws. For 50 years, we have basically invited people to come. We have told them if they come to this country, we've not said this explicitly, but our entire system was built on it. If you make it here, you can live here, you can work here, your children can get a better life here. Our economy relies on you. And the bargain was you get a chance to make money in America. You don't have the protections of our laws. You don't have the protections of our labor laws. If your boss screws you, you're pretty well fucked.
Yeah.
But you get to have
a
better
less.
life. What?
And you get paid less.
and you get paid less.
You get paid more than you would at home.
You get paid more than you would at home. You get the benefits of living in the greatest country on earth. Your kids will have opportunity, and we as Americans benefit because we get services and products at a much cheaper cost because of this giant pool of basically second-class citizens providing this labor. And by the way, you're going to pay into Social Security, you're going to pay into Medicare, but you have no hope of ever redeeming it. You'll actually contribute more to the tax code than you will take out. And so what are we going to do to fix that? Well, there's a compromise to fix that: comprehensive immigration reform. It is humane. It does require some people to pay back taxes, and it acknowledges the breaking of the law, but also the fact that this was a broken system that we all collectively built and benefited from. And now we're just going to visit all that pain on people who did what we basically told them to do and scapegoat this problem on their backs, and it's fucking disgusting. And all that's a way of saying, sorry, I'm being indulgent, they want this. They want to have a bunch of protests in defense of undocumented people so that they can point out the fact that they're deporting the worst of the worst. They want that fight, right? And they want that fight so that there's a whole news cycle about how they're going to say Democrats, it probably will just be activists,
right,
are defending the most violent and awful people who don't belong in this country. That will generate the stories that they want as they slowly ramp up further and further deportations. And then when they are now just rounding up people who have committed no crime other than coming into the country illegally, and they are separating families or giving families the choice whether to leave together to a country they've never lived in for the kids or not, we will have already kind of done this round of protest and indignation, and it will be old news. And I don't know how you deal with that. I don't know how you deal with that. Yeah. But like, that's what I mean when I talk about the bloodless ticky-tack politics and then the slow degradation. Like and it goes to something deeper, which is I said this on I'd Love It or Leave It and at the live show after, and it's like Republicans go around saying you're not wrong to care about this, right? You're not wrong to be mad about the border. You're not wrong to be mad about undocumented immigration. You're not wrong to care about pronouns. You're not wrong to be annoyed by this, whatever it may be. And then we as Democrats, we as this big, broad coalition of the small d Democratic movement, go around telling people, you're wrong not to care about this. You're wrong not to care about norms. You're wrong not to care about democracy. You're wrong not to care about Elon Musk getting on a fucking call with Zelensky and like this new oligarchy of ours. And we beg people to care. And I don't know the way out of it, but I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Being on the caring side is hard. This is the immigration thing you just got at it. And why it just to me is, I mean, we could do the whole thing on this, so I'm not going to. But just like my final thought on that is that it is a perfect storm where there's an acute crisis. People are going to suffer, but it's probably a political winner for them. And so it's like it's the one area where they actually know what they're doing. Kind of. I mean, they will still like be totally corrupt and ham-fisted and executing it, but like they know the basic rules about how they can get around this. Like there are a couple of like nativist freaks that have been like going through the 1798 Alien and Sedition law. Like they actually they know what their limits are this time, so they know what they're doing, which is not going to be true in other areas. Yeah, and the harm is going to be tangible and real to people, and the harm is going to be tangible and real to people that like don't vote, and that people don't, and that just fundamentally most Americans don't care about.